Hey there, travelers. Mag and I here on day 46 of our trip around the United States. Today seemed like a good day to go ahead and talk about the planning process. Why? Well, because we're a little bit behind schedule and we have to understand the planning process in order to understand how to catch back up with ourselves. Why are we behind schedule? Well, there's a few factors that added up into that. As you saw from the footage yesterday, we had quite a run through Turkey Run State Park yesterday. That gave us a lot of extra footage that we had to edit to be able to get that video out, which we had to break into 2 parts. Add on top of that the fact that I neglected to set my alarm, so I didn't wake up till about 5 a.m. Today is our biggest driving day in Indiana. We have 350 miles to cover between us and Indianapolis. So all the factors are kind of stacking against us. In the plan, we have multiple layers. The first layer is the essential layer. That includes our county and DeLorme targets. We can't let those go. We have to be able to get at least 1 per page. Generally, we aim to do 2 per page. It's a little bit of a safety net. On top of that, we have the fluff layer. Virtuals, earth caches, and geocaches that just look like they're fun to do. We only cut those when we need to, or like today, when time isn't on our side. So we're cutting out a lot of those from our schedule, and we're gonna leave only kind of the bare bones of our plan, the counties and DeLorme pages. From there, we're only taking on the ones that are quick. So it's park and grabs in and out. Most of the morning we've spent doing guardrails and lamppost hides, and that's a-okay with me. Those help us get back on track when we fall behind on a day like today. The other factor that's kind of messing with our timing is that we're running across the timeline for Eastern Standard Time and Central Standard Time. So we zig and we zag. We're an hour behind, we're an hour later. I think we're gonna do okay. We've done a pretty good job catching up this morning. No matter how the day shakes out, we're gonna finish our targets, even if that keeps us going well after dark. So let's keep our fingers crossed that we can keep this day moving at a good pace so that we can end where we wanna be and be set for one last great day in Indiana. Let's go see how we do. Come on. We started off our morning with a drive through the Benton County Wind Farm. This farm consists of 87 windmills in total. The dog and I watched these red blinking lights for the better part of an hour last night, so it was cool to get to see them in the daylight. The first non-essential target that we were willing to stop at was West Memorial Park. We came here to visit the Old West School Artesian Well. The water coming out of this fountain pours at a cool 60 degrees and is very refreshing. When we reached Plymouth in Marshall County, we had originally planned to go after a multi-cache called The Legend of Zelda. I happened to notice there was a geocache at this museum though, so I decided I would stop in and have a look. That was the absolute best decision I could have made, because as it turns out, entry into the museum is free, and they were more than happy to let me walk around the grounds and take lots of shots of the history throughout the county. The museum contains artifacts going back well over 100 years. The tour of their downstairs area is self-guided, but a representative will come with you to tour anything on the 2nd floor. The building is actually comprised of 3 buildings that were purchased over the years so that they could fit all the displays into one area. Each room contains a different piece of history from within Marshall County. They also house the historic archives and the genealogy archives for the county as well. My guide through the museum was extremely knowledgeable. Anytime I had a question about one of the many thousands of items on display, she was able to quickly tell me the history of it. Which is really impressive when you consider just how many items they actually have dating back through time in this place. As for the geocache itself, it is hidden within the museum, so you do have to visit during the open hours. It is also well hidden within all the displays, so there's virtually no chance at all that you're going to find it without help from one of the museum staff. Don't feel shy to walk up to the front desk and let them know what you're doing. After all, that's how I got to start onto this great tour in the first place. The museum was also a great reminder of why I love living in the 21st century. As great as the history here is, I'll be the first one to admit that I am very reliant on technology. Our stop-off in Mentone provided the answer to the age-old question. So I ask you now, why did the chicken cross the road? Well, to get to the giant egg on the other side, of course. but this is touted as the world's largest egg, too. When we arrived at Logansport, we were greeted with several interesting sights in town. The first of which was this statue dedicated to Dancing with Our Stars. And yes, there was a geocache hidden on the statue. We kept the train a-rolling over to the Veterans Park in town, because I can't help but to stop in at every single Veterans Park I find along the way. It was a little bit smaller than many of the parks we've been through recently, but still very beautiful. And as much as I liked the way their displays were arranged out in this circle, I couldn't help but notice the Marine Corps was not present on any of these tablets. They'll still get a pass since they had the EGA flag flying high. The day concluded with a couple of giant objects to send us out. After having a relaxing seat, we saw this giant mantis. It did kind of bug me that the geocache was missing though. Oh well, it happens. Well, travelers, as usual, the setting sun lets us know that another geocaching day has come to an end. We made it to Frankfort in Clinton County, which is our last county target for the day. We didn't quite catch up on our timeline. We were hoping to make it to Indianapolis before the sun set on us, but we didn't do too bad. We operated at a full sprint today, running from one cache to the next as quickly as we could. For the most part, we did pretty good with it too, except for Wabash County. Wabash County really threw us for a loop. We lost at least an hour there trying to find at least one cache we could put our ink on. Oh well, sometimes that's how the game goes. At very least, we're thankful that today was a dry day. After getting our wet down yesterday and all those miles on the trail, I think we were both kind of good with all the road miles we put on instead. All in all, it wasn't too bad of a day. The highlight of today, hands down, was the museum in Marshall County. They were very accommodating and happy to let me wander around and take shots of everything in the museum. I really enjoyed the tour. And since it's a free tour, you should definitely feel free to stop in if you're ever in the area. They accept donations, but they certainly don't require it, and they never asked me for it either. Like this video, subscribe to this channel for daily updates, and we'll see you out on the trails.